Subscribe to Movie Talkies and click on the bell icon for latest updates.
I have like 16 personalities by now. You know, I am become totally schizophrenic while making this movie.
Censor board had given 157 cuts in your...
Favorite question comes to you.
You did your research. You know, they might just have like 10 years left. So let them watch what they want to watch.
And the most trending topic, nepotism.
I don't know if it rocks, but it definitely does exist. Daddy would be very pleased for you to be wearing this daddy topi.
Arjun and Ashim, welcome to Movie Talkies. Two national award winners are coming together. We are expecting a lot of fireworks. Are you feeling the pressure?
Okay, no, yes, I am. I think it's natural to feel a certain amount of pressure, especially since it's a very different film. It's a film which is actually a true story and a biopic on a gangster, which has never really been attempted. So it's a first time. And yeah, I just, and the trailer got a wonderful reaction. So when you get such a reaction, you know that the expectations have already gone up. The first question that you're asking is like that, about two national award winners and all of that. So people, I think, have got a lot of expectations. So the pressure is really that I hope we live up to it.
And also because it's about a living person. He's still
That
around.
is true. Yeah.
So does it make it more nerve-wracking?
That part I think we've crossed because Arun Gawli has seen the movie, his family has seen the film, and they've given us a very positive reaction. In fact, he was very concerned and he said, "Yaar, tum log ne bahut hi alag kisam ki film bana di hai." So, I just do hope it works for you all, because it works for him. So hopefully it works at the box office as well.
And what about you? Are you feeling the pressure?
Actually, for me, it's really exciting, I think, because it's just trying to do something very different in a space that we're so used to, especially the gangster genre. We've seen so much of that. So, yeah, pressure is good, but I mean, it's sort of a good kind of pressure, I would say. It's kind of positive,
This question is again for both of you. Were you aware of Arun Gawli before this project came into being?
I mean, I grew up, I'm a Mumbai boy, so I grew up here. I remember the gang wars in my childhood, and I've always seen pictures of Arun Gawli. I didn't know that much about him. I knew that he was a gangster, but I could never match somehow his whole outfit with the idea that he was somebody who was quite dreaded, So that was my take, yeah. But I knew about
Were you aware of him?
Yes, I knew about him. I think we all knew about him. Anybody who comes to Mumbai or is part of Maharashtra, I mean, you cannot not know about him. He was the nemesis to Dawood. He was, a man who had created a fortress of Dagdi Chaul, the area that he comes from. I remember reading in the news that even cops couldn't go in there. And so yes, you have this image that okay, this guy is like really twisted and scary and all of that. That was the little bit that I knew about him. I remember reading about him when he was taken in for Tada and seeing that picture also, which had come out in the newspaper. It's a very iconic kind of a picture. And I was aware of him, but I didn't know what was Dagdi Chaul. I'd never gone there. I'd never gone to Chinchpokli, I'd never gone and tried to find out. And that only happened in the process of this film.
So was he reluctant to open up initially, and how did you convince him?
Yeah, I think, anybody's going to be. Because it's not like you're making a biopic on a sports personality or on somebody who's a freedom fighter, or you're making a film about a person who comes from the world of crime. Has a lot of he's come from a very dark space. He has gone and he has turned successfully into a politician. People call him daddy, and not godfather or don or ustad or words like that. So when you have all of this kind of a thing, he I think was reluctant to say, which side of my story are you going to say? So initially it was like, of course, anybody would want just the good side. So he wants to be called a Robin Hood, or he wants to be called all those things. I and Ashim were very clear. Ashim and I were very clear that it was not going to be that kind of a film that would excite either of us. We wanted to get down to, the grittiness. How did he come? Where does he come from? Why did he become who he became? What was BRA gang? What was his equation with Maqsood, the character in our film? Okay, what was his relationship with his wife? What was his relationship with his children? What was his relationship with the people of Dagdi Chaul? Why would he change his attire at some point in time, where he puts on the Gandhi topi and the white kurta pajama, when actually he was quite a trendy guy initially, like you can see in this poster. And that's taken from a real image which we've kind of, the mugshot of him being captured. So we've kind of done it from that time. You see his family pictures and all of that. I mean, he used to wear flares, bell bottoms, suits, play billiards, do all of that. So he, suddenly this whole transformation, so is this like a mask, or is this really him, or what's going on, or what was it that made him that? So that's what we wanted to explore while making the film. And we made it very clear to him that this is what we want to explore. And in that process, I think we had to win his trust. And that was very important. And commendable that he gave us that liberty. And he said, yeah, tell my story in the real way, in a true way. And we did.
So often creative liberties are taken when such films are made. So how close is this film to reality?
It's actually as close as we can possibly get, because there are obviously legal issues. You can't, there are other names, there are other gangsters in the film. We don't have their permission. So there are characters that have been semi-fictionalized, or there are composites of multiple characters. There are dates that have been changed, obviously, because there are cases in court. And having said that, I think we've been as true as possible to the story. Obviously, you have to condense it. It's 40 years. It's very complex sometimes, going back and forth. The politics was never that smooth. So you kind of simplify some things just in terms of watchability, whatever. But actually, it's very, not make it commercial, just make it accessible in a 2-hour time span, You can't confuse somebody with the back and forth of how many political parties were involved. You need to make it simpler. But mostly, I think it's very true to the spirit of his story, and it's as true as we can possibly be, I think.
When such films arrive, be it Daddy or Hasina, I've often seen people complaining that do we have lack of heroes, that we are making a film on gangster, because somewhere or the other people tend to glorify the criminal. So what is your take on it? What do you have to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that. I think a lot of gangster films do glorify those characters and they make them heroes. I think in this case, one of the first things I didn't want to do was make a heroic film. Arun Gawli himself is not a hero in a traditional sense at all. I mean, he's like, we were saying, he's an accidental gangster. He fell into it. And what I found always interesting about him is that every time he tried to get out, he got deeper into it, So his attempt has always been to get out, but he's never been able to quite do that. So actually that gives you a lot of, you feel something, you feel compassion for him, you feel emotion for him without hero worshipping him. And that's the kind of movie I think we wanted to make, where you don't go away thinking, I want to be somebody who spent 8 years in Tada. I don't think anyone would aspire to that. And at the same time, you feel like what a life this guy's had. It's amazing,
And what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, I think the same thing as what Ashim is saying. But the film, when you talk about crime, I mean, crime for me has so many faces, right? I mean, Arun Gawli came from a world of crime. It's not that you say, oh, I want to become a criminal, and there are situations that push you towards it. And with the mills shutting down, people getting displaced, unemployed, there was in this whole area of Dagdi Chaul and Agripada, Nagpada and all these places, all these mill workers, kids and all were all displaced and they didn't know what to do. So there was nobody going out there and helping them. Who displaced them were the unions, right? So the mill people wanted the unions to go away. Who would remove the unions? People like Arun Gawli. Would go and put their muscle and get free of the land. When the land is available again, okay, who gets involved? The politicians. So actually, the face of crime keeps changing. You know, so, and that's, I think, what is very interesting about the film.
Okay. So you are totally slaying in and as daddy. You've transformed into Arun Gawli. What kind of preparation went into the making of daddy?
I think this man here, Ashim, you know, he made me prepare and he made sure that, you know, I would not come onto the set as I usually go onto a set maybe sometimes, you know, where you are the hero only of the film. And he said, it's not that, you know, you got to really go into it and you got to, we're going to go deeper and we're going to dig deeper. And he said, the first thing we got to do is make sure that you look like him. And for that, he said, I really want you to have a distinctive nose because Arun Gawli has a very, very distinctive nose, you know. And yes, so then we got makeup artists from Italy who came down, you know, and they did this look test on us. And it was very important for both of us that that look came out right, you know. Because if that look didn't work, I was still very clear because we'd already got quite deep into the script and we'd gone into production before we did the look test. In fact, this poster is the look test. It is when we shot the first time when I dressed up like him, you know. And so if I had not passed this, I would have made the film with Ashim, but I would have made it with another actor, being the producer on the film. But I was very clear that I have to pass this test, otherwise I wouldn't do it. Because that, I think, brings that authenticity to it. And the minute I started looking like him, then I started to shrink, lose weight, didn't go to the gym because people didn't work out at that time. So for 2 years, I just stayed out of the gym. I would just run to keep myself reasonably fit. But yeah, so, you know, change the whole body on that aspect. So, and the more you get into it, the more research you do, which we did a lot of, you know, it kind of comes into you. You don't know when it comes, but the character starts getting into you. Then you meet him, you pick up, those are golden moments where you just pick up mannerisms and, you know, a few gestures. And yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard that earlier someone else was supposed to direct this film. Then how did you come on board?
So I'll say they'd approached me. They were, you know, kind of indie filmmakers only, and they'd said that we want to do a film on Arun Gawli. And so I thought they wanted me to play the cop in it. And they said they wanted me to play Arun Gawli. So I was like, really? Why? Like, how? You know? And then I read the script, and I'm not trying to say that what's right or wrong. For me, that script was not right. I just felt that, you know, I needed thing. And I spoke to them, and I said, you know, if we do it, and I started, I got intrigued about Arun Gawli, so I started researching him. And in that process, discovered this wonderful story. And I said, if we don't get the story right on that level, then we should, you know, I wouldn't do the film with you guys. So, and they said that they had the rights and everything, which I found out that they didn't later on. And I started writing the story myself, because just to get all the moments and incidents and everything in there, which I then sent to Ashim, because I told that producer that, you know, if I do the movie, I'll do it with somebody who I believe will be able to give us what we want. And then Ashim liked it, and we both worked on the structure. I think by this time that producer got very tired of both of us. And we had a crew, and we had a script, and we didn't have a producer, and we didn't have money. So, so we were stuck, and that's when I decided that, okay, let me produce this and let me put this together. And Ashim really helped me do it, and, you know, got a really wonderful team for me also, because he himself is very actively involved in advertising, and he works with really, really good technicians, and he has got a very good creative mind and all of that. So that's how it all came about.
Ashim, why did you agree to direct this film?
I mean, I think, you know, obviously I come from a very different space. I made a film called Miss Lovely. It was very indie. It was in Cannes. It was not a commercial Hindi film. And I think I was... Yeah, I mean, that was his first film. And I think it was just, you know, it was a space that I was really interested in. I didn't really want to make a typical Hindi mainstream film. Honestly, that was not my space. And I think Arjun already knew that. We worked together on a commercial. He kind of knew my kind of aesthetic, my style. And I think because he really was wanting to make something which was very different, I was actually curious. I said, okay, are you serious? Can we do this without an item song? You know, can we do this without all the things that I don't really like, you know, in a gangster movie? And he's like, well, that's why I want to do it with you. I want to make this happen. So I think we were kind of clear that the kind of film we want to make is very different from anything that's been done. You know, and I knew that there was, in some ways, we were on the same page. So it wasn't a situation where I'm suddenly the director and then the actor is suddenly saying, you know, I'm not looking heroic enough. And then you're going into this conflict. I think I needed to be clear that he was open to doing something way out of his depth. And he really wanted to do something which was really about the character himself, you know, as an actor, not as a star. Because that's not my scene. I don't want to work with stars. I want to work with actors. I want to work with people who really have all of that they can give to the character. So I think once we knew that, and we knew that we were free of all the studios and all the pressure of, you know, now put the masala at the end and try and wrap it up and give us the rousing speech and all. I said, let's get rid of all that stuff and make it true to what it should be. And we were able to do that. So, yeah.
Your last release was in 2012. What took you so long?
The thing is that I actually work very slowly because I also develop stuff internationally. So I'm not a very productive filmmaker. I mean, even this film, which is the fastest thing I've ever made, took like 3 years, you know. I think because I immersed myself in the space, I don't think I could make this movie in 6 months. It's just not possible.
But why did it take so long?
I mean,
I think the first is, I think to get like the script in place, then of course all the hurdles that come because people get scared. You know, that the previous producer, his biggest fear was, okay, if we had a producer on board, his biggest fear was, oh, there's no item song. You know, you all are doing it in a different way. Also, it's not a small film, you know, from a budget point of view. It is a film which has scale. The reason it has scale is because it goes into period. It starts from the 70s, you know, and comes all the way till now. You can't find very easily all that vintage stuff. You know, you have to recreate so much of that stuff. So it's a very production-heavy film on that level. Ashim is very, very into his detailing, so he wants everything, you know, to be done in the most immaculate manner possible, you know, and he would not compromise. And he needed a producer like that. And he was very immaculate about all of that. And I knew, okay, he needed a producer who would not compromise on that. So first we lose a producer. So you know, that's you step back and you say, okay, what do we do? Then you realize, okay, the rights are not there with us, you know, and the rights are not there with them either. So then to go and start this dialogue again with the family, you know, and as we discussed in this interview, it's not an easy film for anybody, being in Arun Gawli's position, to just give it to two random people who've come and said, okay, chalo, we want to make a film on you. He'll say, "Tika, tell me the story, tell me the this, tell me the that." The story also, you know, how are we going to do it? There's so much material out there. How do you concise it? So I think the preparation part of it was really, really long, you know, and it took a lot of time for it to start on that level. But once we started, the shooting part was very quick. We shot it over 3 schedules also because you want the rains, you want you know, the winter, and you want the summer. You can't make a film over 40 years and just so that's a year, you know, before you know.
In real life locations
and real life locations, and you know you want the weather as well. You know, so the weather of monsoon. What's a film in Mumbai without a monsoon? You know, that also spanning over 40 years. Then, you know, you shoot so much and it's such a complicated and complex subject that even your post and your edit and everything, you know, the editors, all of that, you know, for them to get that rhythm, to get that pace, to get all of that concised in there. So it's a process. And I think any good film cannot be made overnight. You know, it cannot just happen like that. If it's going into this level of detailing, if it's going into this level of production design, of thought, then it takes its time, and you must give it its time.
Does it make you jittery as a producer?
All the time.
It's a massive
Yeah, I have like 16 personalities by now. You know, I am become totally schizophrenic while making this movie. So it does, you know, it's pressure because it's independent. You know, it's not a studio backing you. It is not. It's a belief. It's a passion, and you've got to stick with it. And then you say, okay, fine, now whatever happens, happens.
Tell me, is it more difficult to play a fictional character or a real person who's still around because you have a reference point and there you don't have a reference point? What do you find more difficult?
I think both are tough. You know, it really depends how demanding each character is. If it's a fictional character which has got a lot of layers to it, you know, and you're creating him from not knowing or having any reference points, you have to pull a lot from your experiences, from whatever you've observed through life, you know, and you go down that process. So you do still go through that whole thing of creating an imaginary world for that guy and his whole history, you know. Similar, from here you get a certain amount of history, but still you have your own interpretation of it. It can never be that, okay, I am identical to Arun Gawli in any way. You know, according to what the situations are, circumstances are, you are kind of imagining. It's your imagination to say, how would he have reacted? How would he have held the gun? You know, I haven't given him a gun and said, show me how you held a gun. You know, or how would he speak to his wife or to his mother or to you know, his friends? You know, and so that's again just imaginary in a way. But yes, you have a base of saying, wow. So that, I think the credit goes to the director for the atmosphere he creates for you. So when I used to walk onto the set, I'd be like, wow, you know, this is how we lived. And, you know, this is, like there's one shot where we have in his house in the 70s, which was actually the first shot we did in the film, where I run into the house and I get, and everybody is sleeping on the floor, you know, and it's one small room. And you really felt that, you know. So automatically your body language becomes like that, your sleeping position becomes like that. And that's what he created, you know. And so for me to get in there and do it like that, tiptoe, you know, get in there.
Becomes easy.
Yeah, it just creates a body language.
Comes naturally.
And yeah, and then suddenly it starts, as you go and progress through the film, that becomes part of you.
Arun Gawli will be out on parole soon and you have delayed the film because his family told you. What is the promotional plan?
So, no, I don't know if he's going to be out or not. I mean, it would be too presumptuous of us to assume that, because finally it is in the hands of the judicial system. I do hope so. You know, there is a likelihood that he could. If he does, then definitely, you know, the whole Lal Bagh Ka Raja and everything that happens during Ganpati festival time. And because one thing people don't know about Arun Gawli really is that he's quite a religious person. You know, like when we went first time to Dagdi Chaul, we were wondering like, what's his house going to be like? You know, this is going to be like tiger stripes on the sofa. You know,
This is stereotypical.
But that's how, you know, we've been shown. That's what our films show us, right? Okay, but actually when we went to his house, it was very simple, and there are God's pictures everywhere. And there's Aarti and bhajans and everything happening all the time. And Asha Gawli is a very, very, you know, spiritual, God-fearing person, you know, and she's quite a philosopher.
But isn't it quite contrasting of what he was
Exactly.
doing?
So that's what we loved. And that's, you know, that's the insight you get. And that's the insight you're going to get when you watch the film. That it's actually such a contradiction to what we all have always thought and believed. Because we've gone and seen it. We've gone and lived it and seen all of that. So, yeah, so he is that kind of person. So, Ganpati for him is a big thing. And if it happens during Ganpati and he can come out, I think it will be great for the film. You know, it will be a great way of him also putting a stamp on it, even though he has now. And it would be lovely to show him the film in totality. Right now, he's just seen a very rough version of it. You know, we would love to screen the whole film for him, the family and people of Dagdi Chaul.
So Censor Board had given 157 cuts in your...
Favorite question comes to you.
You did your research.
157 cuts.
157?
Yeah, but I'm also very slow, see, because the film was made 2012 and I took 2 years to get it released. So I went back and I appealed. In this case, we don't need to do that.
So what do you have to say about this whole censorship thing? Is it required?
I mean, I think, you know, it's quite an obvious answer to, you know, a question that I think we all know the answer to this question. But the point is, I mean, specifically with you know, specifically to Daddy, the film is not very controversial. And I think the biggest thing about the censor board, I feel, and generally, it's very prudish. It's scared of sex. It's not so scared of violence. You know, so if a film is very sexual in nature, it tends to get cut a lot. If it's violent or it alludes to violence, somehow,
Or religious.
yeah, or specific religious things, or if it's, you know, seen as potentially offensive to a community, etc. But so I think this film, I mean, my belief is that I really don't think I see a lot of problems with that, because I do think we've got permission from Arun Gawli himself. He wants us to tell the story. As Arjun was saying earlier, you know, we're all on board with the storytelling here. There's nothing that's that, that you've never seen before that's going to offend anyone. But yeah, specifically, if you're asking me about censorship, I think censorship exists in societies where your cinema going public is treated like children. And I think we are currently in a place like that, where, you know, it's like a teacher telling you what you can and cannot do. And I mean, somebody who's 70 years old should not be told what they can watch. You know, they might just have like 10 years left. So let them watch what they want to watch, you know. So, I mean, I just think that the whole idea of like, you know, this pathshala where you're told, I just don't relate to it.
Arjun, what's your take on it?
You know, what he's saying is why, I mean, it's a very interesting observation what Ashim has, that, you know, the audience is looked at as children, and we make up films like that. And I think that also kind of happens because our censorship is about a U, UA, and an A. So what's a U? That everybody can go. A 5-year-old kid, everybody, the whole family can go. A UA is the 5-year-old kid can also go. Okay, but under the thing with the parents. So in a U, maybe that child could have gone on a school trip and gone and watched that film. But if it's a UA, that 5-year-old kid can come and sit and watch it with their mom and dad. So obviously, if there's like gunshots, blood, violence, okay, it's not apt for this person. So what do? You suddenly throw it to A. But maybe a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old, okay, would be fine with the gunshots and the blood and the violence, okay, because they're kind of matured by then. So I think what the censor board really needs to do is not make it U, A, and A, but follow the system which the whole world follows, where you do it according to age. You know, where you say, okay, U is for everybody, you know, and if it is rated a 12, which is 12 accompanied with, you know, the family, or then if it's 15, a 15-year-old can go on their own, you know, and watch the film, okay, without being accompanied by anybody, or an 18-year-old. So, and that's how I think, you know, you can slot films, not lose your audience, okay, because the minute you put it into A, there's so many problems that start to happen. Because then TV has a problem. When you go onto satellite, you know, and you want to show your film on satellite, you have a problem because they just drop your whole satellite price. For what? It is content. It should go on to television, okay? But they'll say, no, but this will only come late night now because it's got an A. You know, so it just has a lot of backlash upon filmmakers. It has a backlash of actually making, as Ashim said, your films very, very diluted, very, very superficial, and very childlike. And that's why we start making films like that constantly, because you're trying to entertain everybody, you know. And अरे मेरे को UA मिल जाएगा, अच्छा kiss कर रहा है kiss मत कर. But that scene maybe required that person to kiss, you know. And what's wrong with a kiss? You know, I don't know. But so yeah, that's what I feel. And if they can just do it according to age groups, I think it'll be much easier for everybody.
And the most trending topic, nepotism. You've made it completely on your own.
Right.
You've come this far completely on your own. What is your take on it?
Oh my God, you know, I'm very happy with the way my life turned out, you know. But I am now a father of 2 daughters. Now, tomorrow they want to join the film industry. Do they like face this whole nepotism thing or whatever? I don't know. I mean, a doctor's son or daughter wants to become a doctor. I usually kind of, they ape what their parents are, the exposure that is there, you know, and you want to, and you kind of back that. So as a parent, I would back that. And this argument for me really is something very random, because you come from a creative world, you come and you want to create things. If it is political dynasties, or if, or if it is film generations, it exists. So I don't know if it rocks, but it definitely does exist.
Tell our audiences quickly why they should watch Daddy.
Well, because if you love movies and you are into watching something very unique and something which has never been attempted before, then we have Daddy for you, which is going to be in cinemas on September 8th. So please go there, give it a chance, give it a shot, and I'm sure you will really love it the first time. But when the second time you watch it, it's you'll really get to know it even better.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very different kind of film. Like Arjun said, it's something that we've never done, we've never seen in India. And it's really pushing the envelope in many ways in terms of a real-life story, a real-life gangster, just the way it's made. And it's completely, totally uncompromising as a film. So I think it's a very exciting film to watch. So yeah.
Arjun and Ashim, it was great talking to you, and I wish you all the best for Daddy.
Thank you.